help honor the volunteerism of Dr. Lasher. Show of hands. Like a lot. So he's got a lot of fans in our community. He's made a lot of big impressions in our community. I thank you all for coming. So Dr. Lasher has been involved in many projects to assist some of the most vulnerable people in our community, including helping family farmers and farm workers benefit from federal dams and canals, and assisting indigent prisoners to get access to legal materials. But he's best known by most of us for his work in addiction medicine and public health. So one of my favorite quotes about community advocacy really applies to Marc. So here it is. I used to think that the important people would solve the important problems, but then I realized it's up to us. Yeah. As a family practice medical intern, not some department chief or head of a public health agency, young Dr. Lasher saw an important problem in our area and decided that he was going to be one of the people to help solve it. It was the 1990s. And people addicted to injectable drugs in our area, and there was and still are quite a lot of them, had trouble getting sterile needles. And as you know, rather than causing people to kick the habit, this leads to reusing and sharing needles. And the use of those dirty needles makes them and our whole community vulnerable and at high risk for HIV and hepatitis C, as well as bacterial infections and skin disorders for the users. So, despite it being illegal and very controversial at that time, he joined forces with local activists like Tony Mello, Jean Rodriguez, and Dallas Blanchard, who's with us today. Thanks, Dallas. Here for Dallas. He's been here a long time, too. And Dr. Lasher added his new medical skills to the informal needle exchange that had already been going on. They got a 1960s yellow bus, and the San Joaquin Free Medical and Needle Exchange Clinic began at Roseland Park in Fresno. For about 25 years, he's run that clinic almost every Saturday with a handful of other volunteers. While at the clinic, people can get some of their primary care medical needs met, and they can also get information about recovery programs. The CDC says that people who are given clean needles are 5 times more likely to enter drug treatment programs. And they're 3.5 times more likely to stop injecting drugs. So, amazing service. Even though the ban on giving out these needles was lifted by Congress in 2016, and they can now be acquired at medical clinics and pharmacies pretty inexpensively, the free clinic continues to be very busy. And perhaps this is because all people would rather get help where they feel true empathy for their struggles rather than judgment and disdain. So it's time to let Dr. Lasher tell you more about his projects, his colleagues, and other plans. So please welcome Dr. Marc Lasher.
Andrew did such a great job, I don't need to tell you much about needle exchange in our free clinic. I guess, well, first of all, thank you so much for the award. It's very important. It's very important at this time because we keep on going through the struggle of getting out of alleyways to provide medicine to people who are very vulnerable. And so this is like pre-Roe versus Wade concerning medical care. And so we're at an opportunity at this point in time to try to make it more mainstream and recognized. And so I appreciate receiving this award. And it's not just about me, it's the people that I work with. And what I'm going to do is actually introduce you to them and also what they do. And I wish as I do that and I introduce you, stay standing. I have 2 nice things to say about Bushcito, the little bush. And one was, he said, I'm a crier, and I relate to that. 2 was, he goes, the Canadian people are so neat, they all greeted me with all 5 fingers. So I have a special place in my heart because we have that saying. that aspect. So getting recognized at this point in time is really important. Some of our issues, we've been in the alleyway for many years, so I want to start to introduce, first of all, and I do want you to stand as we stand together. Dallas Blanchard, please. Dallas heads up the needle exchange. She takes care of all the logistics of the needle exchange, ordering the needles, getting them some other supplies that are needed. He's been doing it for 25 years. I met up with him and a small group of people who are actually doing needle exchange, doing home visits. And I went along while I was a medical student and saw that these are our people in our community having real lives, having children running around the living room and then they go into the bedroom using the euphemisms that, oh, mom's sick, she's going to take her medicine. And so that was a real eye-opener for me, making this real people with real lives that need real care. So Dallas has been out there every Saturday for the last over 25 years, and during that point in time, he collects used needles in exchange of, and gives sterile needles, as Andrew was saying, and gave the good reasons for that, stop the transmission of hepatitis C and HIV. On an average, he was exchanging somewhere, well, currently we're at 16,000 needles in 2 hours every Saturday. But that's down from 30,000 that we usually would be exchanging a few months ago. And with there's been some harm reduction that's been done with the lessening of use of needles. We also distribute pipes because of the epidemic has now transformed from heroin to fentanyl. Very dangerous, very dangerous. And there were over 100,000 overdose deaths last year, and 70,000, well, in 2022, and 70,000 were related to fentanyl. So, unfortunately, it's the cartels and whoever is distributing drugs that have made that harm reduction on the level of needles and infections related to needles, but the harm has been increased in claiming the lives of people in our community. Which is another thing that Dallas does. Dallas also provides Narcan, that people just walk up and they, do you have Narcan? If they don't have Narcan, they're provided. We looked over 1 year of when we first got the Narcan on a regular basis from the state, and we gave out 3,800 boxes of Narcan. And we heard with people coming to us, and they get Narcan whether they used it or not, and so they had no interest in saying yes. There was a reversal. It was recorded of over 1,000 reversals, lives saved, because people were being armed with Narcan. People who needed, who were using it, or using with other people. So that's what the harm reduction that Dallas is a part of, and I want to please remain standing, because I really want all of you tonight to be standing with me as we do. Kenny Brown, one of our board of directors.
Relax.
Kenny, I don't understand. Kenny, please. Kenny's one of our board of directors. We have kept our vehicles rolling during the entire time. We couldn't provide these services without having a bus or an RV to make rolling. So it's not only the medicine and the thanks that I get. When people say thank you, Doc, it's thank you us. So Kenny, and he's been doing. He came across, my wife and I, when we were broken down, going to our family practice in Chinatown. And he saw the bus down, and he knew it was our bus because we parked it in our Chinatown office. And he helped, and that was over something like 20 years ago, and has continued to help ever since, on call all the time. Hey, it's not running, can you get over here? And even hauled me down the mountain one time in 102-degree temperature at 12 o'clock at night. So, okay, that's Kenny. Please, if you can, remain standing. I work on his knees also. And then there's Dr. John's wife. Dr. Marc, a very special person in my life. He was the chairman of family practice when I was an intern, and allowed our project to go through. If I told him and the other faculty, I want to help out with people who are providing needle exchange, I want to provide the medical care to the people that need it, and he approved it. He fought for us even after a couple of our people were arrested, and he said, no, we're going to continue providing this service. If they could do it at UCSF in San Francisco, they could do it at UCSF Fresno, San Francisco, in Fresno as well, and that was a total bluff. So I appreciate your, being there for us. Very special. So John's been coming out since I've been an intern. I'm not sure what that meant. I know what the message is, but every once in a while I'm going, John, are you coming out because you think I still need some more supervision? He heads up a special part of what we're doing these days, and that is, it's called low barrier opiate treatment. Low barrier opiate barrier, help me. Medicated treatment. And so, and what it is that people say, I want help. They sit down with John, they're given a prescription of medicine, they don't have to go back to fentanyl, they don't have to go back to heroin, they don't have to get the referral. Okay, and I've been out there and I work in a methadone, and they don't have to show up at a methadone clinic, later on in the week, or get on the waiting list, and it rarely happens. Even when they know me, it's rare that they get to go into clinics. It's very hard getting people from A to B. So we actually start them in the clinic, and they return to the clinic. They feel comfortable with the clinic. We're out in the middle of a cul-de-sac, and we have great police protection a block away from the CHP. And so people get in for treatment for their opiates, for methamphetamine, for alcohol, and also part of a lot of the people that are now filtering in this low barrier treatment, medicated treatment, are coming right from the hospitals. John's been crucial in connecting with the navigators in the emergency room at St. Agnes, at community hospital, and that people come in on an overdose. They're taken care of in the emergency room. They're given some Suboxone, buprenorphine is the generic name, and they don't have to go back. They can continue, and they're referred. That we receive a phone call or a fax, and we continue them and treat. John follows up with them during the week. And so, so people are low barrier medicated assisted treatment, getting people where they're at. Okay, thank you, John, for doing that. And of course, we were doing this a little bit before, every once in a while, but John's been a real push to get it to as many people as possible. So, and then, let's see, okay, with that. I wrote these things down so I wouldn't forget. Okay. I need to introduce two of my children. I'm going to embarrass both of you. Please stand up. Sigal and Alaya. When I did not have volunteers, in the slideshow that I showed doctors, I still see, Alaya at the age of 14 filing medical charts in our bus, and I very clearly remember Sigal, taking surveys where we would ask people who were injection drug users, well, what are your risk factors? You're injecting 8 years old. Are you injecting drugs? Are you having sex with other men? a little angel, I speak into a touch of humanity here. And so and since then, and I relied on them for a long time, and also I wanted them to see what their father does. But since we've gone further, we seem to have acquired a lot of volunteers from Fresno State pre-med students. We get med students from the medical school in Clovis on a regular basis. There's so many of them that they had to do a rotation every week. Only 2 of them could come, and it's great. They're on the front line handing out, syringes with Dallas, Narcan, fentanyl test strips, other paraphernalia to keep them safe and clean. So we have, and residents, we have 3 different residency programs filtering through, coming through for their clinical training. So they've replaced, these 2, and I thank you so much. Please remain standing. Let's see. Hold on one second. Okay, good. And then there's Karina. Karina's been with us for, please stand, Karina. Karina Perez. She's been with us for 4 years. And she just came out of just wanting to do the right thing for a lot of right reasons. Unfortunately in the world, most people do the right thing for the wrong reasons. But here we have a person doing the right thing for the right reasons. And she's our administrative assistant. She makes a lot of the things that when Dr. Mizwacha and I have difficulty with our computers, being the dinosaurs we are, she's able to get us connected. And a very important connection that she works for EOC as an administrative assistant in one of the departments. And so she has a lot of contact with different boards that they're involved in, and she takes, and am I saying this right? Or sort of? Yeah. And so, and it was through her having communication with one of the board of supervisors that we currently have the ear of one of the boards who is interested in what can we as a county do for you and to help you provide more services and what do you need. And so we told them what, Karina said, the doc has an old dream, and Supervisor Pacheco said, what's your dream? And I said, the dream is, and I used to walk by every, Friday night when I would walk my dog, and I walk by the public health office, the public health building downtown, and there's this big sign that says public health with the doc and the kid and all that. And I envisioned one day that we have Dallas sitting there with our big biohazard bucket, and people who are having addiction and use disorder come through, they dump their stuff, they get clean syringes for good health, and then they also have options. They also have options for treatment, for testing of sexually transmitted diseases, and housing, and substance use counseling. All these other wraparound services, and that's the dream. And so Supervisor Pacheco, he saw what we do and saw what the need was, and he said, well, I'll put together some of my administrators. And he did. He put together the head of the Department of Health, Department of Behavioral Health, and the Department of Social Services. And they were all in agreement that we could do a plan to implement something like that, to get people in there and do these wraparound services. And so that appears on our Board of Supervisors agenda on September 5th. And so if any of you are, and I know you are all well connected, and have the ears of some of your Board of Supervisors, give them a piece of their ear, or their ear, or whatever the saying goes. Okay, let's see. So that was a very important thing. We've been out there for so long and never were able to get in for a friendly invite like that. We appeared before the Board of Supervisors back in 2001, and multiple times before that we were made legal for a very short period of time, made illegal again shortly after that. But now we're asking for, and that's why this award is so important. You're mainstream, you're a solid part of the community. And having your endorsement, it's not for me, it's what we do. We're standing. And get us out of the alley, get us into the lobby, and let us provide services. And I've come to a realization, I've seen my mortality, and Dallas is as well. We're not going to be around forever. And it's a race. Dallas and I go to race to the finish line. And so what I'd like to do is, Sigal also recently has been our help to being our web designer. And Karina, after having our web made, and Karina said, why don't you put a QR code, I think that's how you say QR code, on it. So if you, so what we're going to do is we're going to hand out our flyer. On there is our QR code, and you can take a look at our website and see what we do. And there's a little documentary, 16 minutes, it's not long. When we were in our old bus, since the bus has died, we went from the bus to we were in the back of a U-Haul, all of us for about 9 months before we found an RV that we could reconvert and strip down and make it a great, solid medical unit. Sigal, why don't you put all these two on the table? I can say where was that? So you could look at that QR code scanned right into our website. And again, thank you so much for this honor. And I take it mostly because there's something that can be done. We can move forward. We could, push our community forward. And maybe I leave you with this haunting tune, that I love, that I play all the time when I'm emptying the garbage from the needle exchange, and that Sam Cooke song. Maybe you could tune into that yourselves at home. A change is going to come. Okay. Thank you again so much.
Present Marc with a certificate that reads, if I can open it here, the Lifton Award in memory of Dr. Werner G. Lifton, presented to Dr. Marc Lasher for continuous outstanding volunteerism and leadership in community activism. And it's signed by Francine and me. In addition, we've given you a year membership to the league. You're so welcome. And for the time being, anyway, I'm going to show Marc and give it to his table here, the plaque that we keep in our office. I can't give it to you, but we keep it in a place of honor in our office. And I'm delighted to be able to share with you the remarkable people that you are sharing this reward with. So, congratulations.